It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neal, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Hey, Braves Country! Braves Country HD is bringing you Braves Country Baseball. Braves Country comes to you every Tuesday night and Friday night, and 2 bonus games every week. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we'll be bringing you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves. It's free to listen. Please like and subscribe. YouTube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country Baseball, for the fans, by the fans.
Here's good news. There's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you are ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Braves Country today. We're talking Southern sports. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Braves Country today, Southern sports talk with the voice of Braves Country baseball, Mac McGee. Joined every day from sports analysts from all over Braves Country, talking college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and what's trending in the world of sports. Braves Country today. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Armor Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pump cup. Really? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair. YouTube Live.
Radio station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
You're listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on YouTube.com/@Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. We better wake the hell up. We can't go down 0-2. Come on, Braves Country.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. Yeah, the armchair.
Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? I hope you're having a great day here on Monday as we get things going on the Armchair Quarterback Monday morning. Armchair Mondays, as we're calling it. Doing this today because we're not going to really have time to get into the world of football when we get into our pregame show at 5 o'clock today. Pregame show will come your way 5 o'clock right here on Braves Country, along with all of your radio affiliates and whatnot. But tough couple of days because I think the biggest problem with this schedule more than anything else, I heard a lot of Braves fans griping about it, is if you lose that first game, there's a couple things in play here. Number one, your opponent kind of gets an evened up advantage on the fact that they're getting an extra day off. I don't really think it makes that big a deal, but you could make the argument. So Phillies get an extra day off, which means Zach Wheeler's going to be on plenty of rest now. He's not even going to be on his normal rest. He's going to actually get an extra day of rest because he last pitched on Tuesday, and so he's had 5 days off. Now, obviously, our biggest concern is Max Fried, and we'll get into all that as the show rolls along, but the Braves have had a day to kind of stew over it. I think we've had a day to stew over it. I don't know about y'all, but I am nervous because, hell, the last thing you want to do is go down 0-2 heading to Philly, because then, although you wouldn't call it necessarily a must-win today, because they don't have to win today, because if they don't win, you're still talking about you'd still be one game away from elimination. But let's be honest, this feels like a must-win. This absolutely feels like a must-win, and I don't believe that you can go into Philadelphia down 0-2 and think any different. You can't go in and go, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll have Bryce Elder on the mound on game 3, and that'll work out well. And then we'll have Strider going game 4, and that'll work out well. We'll come back, we'll win. Now, if you want to win this series, this is where it begins. This is absolutely where it begins. And I'm at a point now where I don't even want to see. I don't want to see the stuff that we see from a lot of the Braves media. They are already making damn excuses. They were making up excuses at the very beginning of this series before it ever started, talking about how Phillies are coming in hot, and the Braves are doing this, and they haven't had a chance to play. It's too many damn excuses. It's too many damn excuses. There's got to come a point in time where you say, enough. The rubber needs to hit the road. Everybody needs to get out there and play the game that they know. And I do believe they will. I think they're going to bounce back today. But like I said, we'll get more into that as the show rolls along, because we do want to start off with the world of the National Football League. last night, if you missed that game, you missed nothing. What an ass whipping that was. I mean, my God. I'm going to go ahead and say right now, San Francisco, we talked about this a few weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, that if they had their choice, San Francisco would start the playoffs today because they're the best team in the NFL. It's not even particularly close. They are the best team in the NFL. They manhandled the Cowboys, who are a pretty darn good football team. San Francisco just looks like a well-oiled machine. The question's going to be, outside of that, okay, if you can keep this team rolling and you can keep this team undefeated. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about undefeated for the entire season. I'm talking about just in general. Just keep them rolling. Just keep them from getting like, the little annoying bugaboo losses, right? The ones you're like, oh, man, why did we lose that game? We should have won that. That was a disaster. Right now, if you look at the National Football League and you look at, especially in the NFC, it's a two-horse race. Now, I know injuries and a lot of things can change that, but right now, it's a two-horse race. It's San Francisco, it's Philadelphia, and then it's the rest. You can make the argument for Detroit. Detroit did beat Kansas City in Kansas City, and I don't want to skip past that because that's pretty darn important in the grand scheme of all that. But even with that being said, I'm going to give you the Power 5 in the NFL that I believe to be true going right now in the National Football League. Number one, I'm sorry, but it's San Francisco, and it's everybody else below them. Everybody else below them. Because they went to the Super Bowl last year, because they're undefeated, I'm going to put Philadelphia there. But this is not the Philadelphia team of last year. They've had a pretty easy schedule so far. But all in all, Philadelphia belongs at number 2 until they get a loss. The number 3 team, now you don't have any other undefeated teams, but the number 3 team, I know they lost last week, and I get it, but you got to put the Miami Dolphins there. The Miami Dolphins were not impressive in Buffalo, but they are 4-1 atop the AFC. The number 4 team to me is the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City lost that first game at home. They've had a pretty easy road as well, but they are 4-1. They've won 4 in a row, so you can't take that away from them. They have a 48 point differential. Not as impressive as Buffalo, but basically Buffalo, they either play really well or they go out there and spit the bit like they did yesterday against Jacksonville. I will say this for Buffalo. They'll be back in the top 5 very, very soon. I don't think they traveled well. They look like they were half asleep. And I know you got all these excuses from folks that said, well, you can't, or not excuses, but pregame look ahead when they were saying Buffalo shouldn't be affected. It's only 6.5 hour difference between Orchard Park and London, England, where they were playing yesterday. That's not really the point. First of all, they're playing at 9:30 in the morning. That's a big difference. Jacksonville, that was their second week there. I do believe that gave them an advantage. I believe you're going to see Jacksonville doing this more often. Anytime they get a chance to play 2 games over the pond, Shad Khan's going to do it. The owner of the Jaguars, he's going to do it. And he's going to take the advantage of getting fans to get behind his brand over there. And I think you're going to see the Jaguars do this a lot where they go, you know what, we'll play 2, but we want to play them back-to-back. And they got a decided advantage in that second game. The first game, maybe not. Maybe the first game it's even Steven, and you hope if you're Jacksonville that first game you play is against as an inferior team. But you don't mind taking on the Buffalo Bills. They looked half asleep. Jacksonville looked terrible in the red zone, but they looked better than they did the week before. So They can clean some things up. Jacksonville's lurking. Don't sleep on them. We're going to get into all the teams here in a second, but I did want to give you my number 5 team in the NFL. I think I'm going to go with, at this point, I think you have to go with the Detroit Lions. I know they weren't tested yesterday, and I get that. But all in all, the Detroit Lions, to me, look like a team that, they went out yesterday. I heard Dan Campbell say it. They went out yesterday against an inferior team and still laid the wood to them. They didn't and I think what he's referring to is not only Lions teams, but a lot of teams in the NFL. You're playing what's arguably the worst team in the NFL. They come into your house. You're not that excited. And they still went out there and played a very good football game. So to me, you got to put Detroit there. All right. We are going to take a quick break and reset. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Jags. We're going to talk about the Titans-Colts game. Going to get into some Choptober talk with the Atlanta Braves and other things going around the NFL. Plus, college football. We're going to give you the Armchair Top 10 today. And come on now. It's Braves-Phillies Game 2, and we've got to get going. There is no tomorrow. You cannot say, well, they played us a good game. We'll get back at it. No. You got to pull out all the stops tonight, Snicker. I feel like you got outmanaged a little bit in Game 1, though I think a lot of it just came to, I do think things fell into Rob Thompson's lap. But Game 2, Fried on the mound, first sign of problems. You got to go get them. This is an all or nothing game. We'll be back in a flash. You have to, I'm sorry, but when you're down 0-1 in your own building and you're about to go on the road, you have to treat this like a Game 7. We'll be back in a flash. Armchair Mondays, Braves, NFL, college football. Let's get it.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes 1 free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Hey, Braves Country. Braves Country HD is bringing you Braves Country Baseball. Braves Country comes to you every Tuesday night and Friday night, and 2 bonus games every week. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we'll be bringing you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves. It's free to listen. Please like and subscribe. YouTube.com/@BravesCountry. Braves Country Baseball, for the fans, by the fans.
Here's good news. There's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you are ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Braves Country today. We're talking Southern sports. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Braves Country today, Southern sports talk with the voice of Braves Country baseball, Mac McGee. Joined every day from sports analysts from all over Braves Country, talking college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and what's trending in the world of sports. Braves Country today. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE.
Hey, what we always call on the game, PlayStation game, what we always call? Heads or tails on the PlayStation game. All right, then. You should have told him tails. I thought you told him. No, I told you. I thought you knew the special teams always coach. They don't play the PlayStation like us. They don't play it like us. I thought you told him. That's what I said. They don't play the PlayStation like us. They don't play it like us.
This year, choose a yogurt that's right for you. With 2 grams of sugar per 5.3-ounce serving. Too Good Greek yogurt is too good to be true. So Delicious dairy-free yogurt and Silk yogurt alternatives are delicious plant-based swaps you can enjoy by the spoon or add to recipes. Oikos 000 yogurt and Light and Fit yogurt are tasty, non-fat yogurt options. So many flavors, varieties, and possibilities. Elevate any recipe and your everyday with yogurt.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
It all starts with just one thing. Glass jars can be reused to store food and spices, as a holder for combs and brushes in the bathroom, or as a container for plants and homemade candles, in addition to simply being recycled. Find tips and more at onethingus.com.
You think about it. What is there in your life, besides your love of family maybe, that carries all the way through from almost your earliest recollections till the day you die, and you care about it in one way or another? There are very, very few things that make that list. We come to things at various times in our lives when we can comprehend them, when we have an interest in them. But we have a child's interest in baseball, in my case from the time I was 5. I can't imagine never having an interest in baseball. So it will be one of the few things in my life that I have cared about in one way or another all the way through.
Let's get it rolling. We gave you our Power 5. If you missed it just a second ago, as we're just starting to get shared to different outlets. Long story short, San Fran, Philly grabbed the number 1 and number 2 spots. Number 3, I had the Miami Dolphins. Number 4, and I really think those 3 are easy 1, 2, 3s. Number 4, I had Kansas City, and I think that's an easy number 4. And then number 5 right now to me are the Detroit Lions. But let's get into some of the games, some of the actions from yesterday, as really a lot of things going on as the Jaguars, the Bills, London. I think most fans hope to wake up to a shootout, and though it ended up being 25-20, if you watch that game like I did, it was eh. I'll tell you one thing that is impressive, though. 61,000 were in that stadium at 99% capacity. And that's, look, I don't care how you shake it out. I know it's the NFL, and you're probably wondering, well, Why the hell is it not a sellout? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 99% capacity for Jags Bills in London is pretty darn impressive. And one of the funnest parts about that is watching the fans from both sides of it. And you can see a lot of Jaguar. Now, the only thing you don't know is how many of them made the trip over there and how many of them, because Jacksonville's been doing this for so long, by far the most played team in London. You got to figure that they've got a heck of a fan base over there. And they were singing Sweet Caroline, which was a strange choice considering it's Buffalo, Jacksonville, but they were singing Sweet Caroline in between one of the breaks. That was pretty cool. All the fans getting into it. Remember last year it was Country Roads out in Germany. But Trevor Lawrence, though they had their problems in the red zone, if you look at his numbers just across the board, 25 of 37 and a touchdown. ETN goes off. He scores 2 touchdowns, 136 yards. I still contend that he should have sat down when he had that last. I don't necessarily call it a long touchdown run, but that last touchdown run that he did have is around 30 yards. And there was a little over 2 minutes left, and Buffalo had 1 timeout. I still contend he probably should have sat down. Because at that point, they could have churned up the clock a little bit more, and Buffalo would have gotten the ball back. Worst case scenario, Buffalo gets the ball back with 8 minutes left. Down 8 points and would have had well under a minute left. Instead, they get the ball back with 2.5 minutes left. They score quickly. And that's the one thing that no matter what you can say or want to say about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, man, can he sling that ball. And just absolute frozen ropes. And he gets down there bang, bang in 2 plays. And Buffalo ends up scoring. They do not get the onside kick, so everything works out. And I know it's a little dicey if you do the math. It's not a given. And it's really difficult to sit there and just sit down and not take the touchdown. But the touchdown by ETN could have cost the Jags very easily because they gave them an opportunity. They gave them a chance. But anyways, it worked out. Jaguars win at 25-20. Calvin Ridley, by the way, 7 catches, 122 yards. How about that? And Christian Kirk, 6 catches, 78 yards. The Jags offense looked great in between the 20s. It's when you get them in that red zone, they start stumbling. And I do believe they're going to get that cleaned up. But right now, it makes you a little nervous when you watch that and you see how many issues that there are in the red zone for the Jaguars so far. But they're still 3-2. They're tied up there at the top of the division with Indianapolis. More on that in a second. And all in all, you got to like what you see. As far as from the Buffalo side of it, Buffalo, 27 of 40, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, a costly interception. But all in all, Allen had good stats, but they didn't get it done. Diggs, 121 yards? He scored a touchdown. Gabe Davis hit the century mark. He scored a touchdown. They were slinging it all over the field. But what really killed Buffalo was that they were getting killed in between the tackles. And ETN going for 100. It's very rare in the National Football League that you give up 136 yards on the ground and win the game. It's very rare. Trevor Lawrence, by the way, 7 rushes for 31 yards. It was good to see him use his legs. And they got Ridley involved in there. Two rushes on his own right for 14 yards. So all in all, I think it was a pretty solid game by the Jags, but they've got to clean up that red zone. That red zone is just it's really, really concerning across the board. Next game up on the docket we want to talk about are the Titans and the Colts. And this is what I kind of expected it to be. Indianapolis wins an ugly game. They're at home. I, in turn, believe Tennessee's going to hold serve and win an ugly game in Tennessee. When these two teams get together, they kind of slug it around. You are concerned if you're a Colts fan because, once again, and this is becoming a habit or a trend, I guess I should say, Anthony Richardson out of the game again. And they're saying now that Anthony Richardson is going to be out for several weeks, a month or more. And that is a big time problem if you're the Colts going forward. Not as big of a problem as it could be because you do have Gardner Minshew, who I would rank up there possibly top 2 or 3 backups in all the NFL. But here's the question. If they stumble the next few weeks and aren't looking that good, the Colts could possibly trade off Minshew and punt to next year. So Minshew's got to get W's. Minshew's got to get W's to keep the Colts relevant so that the front office doesn't start looking at, all right, we've got something a lot of teams want. But Gardner Minshew, 11 of 14, 155 yards. It's what you expect from Gardner. Efficient numbers against a bad secondary, but he's not a big play guy. He's not quite dink and dunk, but he's going to take his 8-yard outs. He's going to look for the 7-yard ends. Just enough to move the chains and keep it going. Zach Moss, man, did he have a game. And that was surprising because Tennessee's been really good against the run, but they got scorched on the inside. Mainly, I'm going to leave it up. Look, I know a lot of people are going to point to the linebacker play, and rightfully so, but they're just not holding their own on the line, or they didn't hold their own on the line yesterday to free up those linebackers. They had enormous holes. Went back and watched the condensed replay this morning before the show, and man, they were just absolutely gashing them. Jonathan Taylor did play, for those of y'all who may have missed that. And we talked about this in the fantasy football side of it on Saturday. I didn't expect him to get a lot of touches. He didn't get 6 carries. The guy had not played in a long, long time. He looked pretty good considering. But look, you almost have to look at that as like his first preseason game. I don't expect a big number of carries next week. It'll be more, but they're going to slowly work him in because the last thing they want to do, especially after they gave this guy 3 years, $42 million, that's a lot of money to give to one player. The last thing you want to do is have him go out there popping a hamstring or something. So they're going to work him in, and Zach Moss has been phenomenal. That Colts offensive line looked great as well. And the defense played well. The one thing that I was pleasantly surprised from the Tennessee side of it, Ryan Tannehill played pretty damn good quarterback. People can say that, that they do or they don't like it. I believe Ryan Tannehill played pretty darn good quarterback. And I know a lot of folks out there are always anti-Tannehill and they want to get rid of him. I was pleasantly surprised that a guy that goes in and just honestly, he moved that entire team up and down the field. But the thing that killed you in the whole grand scheme of it is this. They looked fine, not even in between the 20s, in between, we'll say, the 30s. Because once they started getting closer and closer to the goal line, they couldn't make it work. And I'll tell you something else. Later in the game, it was 20-16, or I'm sorry, it was 17-16 or 17-13 at the time, excuse me. 17-13 at the time. And we go out there and we watch them get down to a fourth. It was about 2 yards, a little less than 2. And they went for the field goal. And this was in the fourth quarter. And I felt like that was a huge, huge gaffe on the side of the Titans. When you're down by 4 on the road, I want to say there was 8 minutes left. It was right there in that neighborhood. And I get it that they'd had some difficulties moving the ball in the red zone, but you're down there. I think what Vrabel was wanting to do, because let's be honest. They've got a secret weapon in Nick Folk. Nick Folk is just phenomenal. He's got the longest streak in the NFL of made field goals. But you can't just field goal them to death. And for the Tennessee Titan fans who have been out there for a while, for me, what it felt like the days of Jeff Fisher, where they were always playing not to lose, so they would just get in field goal range, chip away, chip away, chip away. If you don't get that first down, Indianapolis has it deep in their own territory. You get the stop, you're going to get the ball again in good position to maybe, and then once again, it'll be four down territory. I didn't like the idea of going in there and kicking the field goal, because what you're really setting up is, and it's what happened. Indianapolis ended up with a long, grinding, I want to say it was about a 5-6 minute drive that pretty much put the game away. You got to be a little more aggressive, especially when you're on the road. If you're at home, I like it a little better, just because of the simple fact that you know you're going to have that crowd on your side. But when you're on the road, you got to go for it. It's a touchdown. It's 2 yards. What it means is whatever 2-point conversion you have, that's your favorite 2-point conversion, and every team does this, they have one circled for the game that they really like this 2-point conversion call. That's the call. That's the one you go with. And they went for it on another play where Derrick Henry goes up the gut. And this one was really strange. This is in the second half as well, where Derrick Henry goes up the gut. And all the motion, all the pre-snap motion that they had was just unbelievably confusing to, I believe, the offense, because they had, in fact, the color commentator mentioned it at the time, they had 2 guys move, so they had to get reset. Well, when that happened, if you watched it, the Indianapolis linebackers shifted over, and they were sitting there waiting on Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, 13 carries, 43 yards. That's not going to get it done. They've got to get the running game going. I think Henry still looks as good as he has. I don't believe it's him falling off, but this offensive line is bad, and I don't know how he's going to fix it. Next game on the docket, and of course, you got the Falcons and the Texans. And look, it wasn't pretty, but the Falcons got a win. And if you look at it, they're hanging around. They're 3-2. They're in second place in the division. Tampa Bay had the week off. So they're a half game behind Tampa Bay. They're tied with the Saints, thoroughly dominated the Patriots. And by the way, the Patriots, they can make all the excuses, and they can try to deflect all they want. But when I'm watching the Patriots today, in today's NFL, the last two games, New England has been blown out of the water, and they look like, to me, a team that not only do they not get good quarterback play, they're not, I don't know if it's the scheme or whatnot, but they're not out coaching anybody. That used to be Belichick's thing. He used to be able to coach everybody. And along with your athletic ability, the older coaches seem to get phased out. At some point, they can't do it. At some point, their innovations are no longer innovative. And he's kind of stick to his guns. If you watch the Patriots offense, it's not much different than what it was when Brady was there. Biggest difference was they had Tom Brady. And Mac Jones, don't get me wrong, I'm not defending him at all. He's bad. He's a bad NFL quarterback. But Patriot fans that want to know why Bailey Zappe's not in the discussion as the starter, and maybe they'll roll the dice this week. They've been that bad. They're obviously seeing something in practice that makes them believe that he can't do it. Because there's no way Bill Belichick is going in and saying, well, we drafted him in the first round a few years back. We got to keep going with him. That has never, ever been the Patriot way. Best man plays. And that just tells you how little they believe in Zappe. It's not like Zappe came in after they benched Jones again this week. It's not like he came in and set the world on fire. But back to the Texans-Falcons game. Look, it was an ugly game. If you watch that game, it's kind of a good old-fashioned rock fight. 21-19. Atlanta gets the W. I was impressed with the fact with the Falcons more than anything else is that Desmond Ridder played within himself. He threw for 329 yards, and normally that is like lights out football. It really didn't feel like that. He was just methodically moving the ball. They had just enough of a running game to keep Houston's defense off balance. Ended up with 96 yards rushing. Bijan went for 14 and 46. Kyle Pitts, there was a Kyle Pitts signing. 7 catches, 87 yards. He has not done anything. He finally shows up. Didn't get into the end zone, but it's promising. It really is promising. Drake London went 6 catches, 78. Really spread it around. Even Johnny Smith got 67 yards. The Atlanta Falcons got over 150 yards, 154 to be exact, receiving from their tight end position. And the defense played solid. And that was one of the more impressive defensive outings that I've seen with the Falcons. And all in all, I believe they've played pretty good defense all year long. But here's the thing. That Houston offense is pretty darn good, and they shut them down. They absolutely shut them down. I thought it was insane when I saw the pregame line. Houston's team total was 19.5. I was like, really? 19.5? They've been scoring at will this year. I thought they'd at least get in the low 20s. I lost that bet, but by a half point. You love it when it's a half point and you're like, there's no way that this is going to turn out well. There's just no way. But they shut him down. They bottled up C.J. Stroud. He did get 249 yards, but all in all, you'll take that, especially when the fact that they only had 64 yards on the ground. And that's off of 23 carries. So it's not like they were just giving up on the running game in general. That's off of 23 carries, average 2.8 yards a carry. He did find the tight end Schultz, the ex-Cowboy, in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. But other than that, I felt like that they played a very good game. And it was just a well-executed game plan. And tip of the cap to the Falcons on that one. All right, we got to take a real quick break. When we come back, the rest of the NFL and how New York is looking better and New York is looking like it's over. We'll explain when we get back here on Armchair Quarterback Monday morning. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country Radio.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Hey, Braves Country! Braves Country HD is bringing you Braves Country Baseball. Braves Country comes to you every Tuesday night and Friday night, and 2 bonus games every week. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we'll be bringing you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves. It's free to listen. Please like and subscribe. YouTube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country Baseball, for the fans, by the fans.
Here's good news. There's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Braves! Hey, Braves fans, Mac McGee here with Braves Country Radio. You can find us on youtube.com/@Braves Country. We're bringing you pitch by pitch, play by play of your Atlanta Braves all postseason long. Hear us right here on the radio or find us on YouTube today. You can jump in the chat with all the Braves fans during the game and listen along as the Braves march through Choptober. That's Braves Country Radio. youtube.com/@Braves Country.
A small town in Wisconsin was turned into the capital of football excellence by the Green Bay Packers. While there was talk of new formations, momentum, and mystique, the Packers went back to basics and proved the game was still one of blocking and tackling. They were a mix of old men reborn and golden boys with promise, blended by Vince Lombardi, who demanded total dedication from his team and got it. The Packer offense was not explosive. Rather, it was a power game, not built on deception, but on precise, devastating execution of a handful of plays. From the simple screen pass to the sweep to the trap play, their charge was as unified as Patton's Third Army. The Packers preferred the feel of a power sweep to the arc of a long pass.
Armchair.
Welcome back. Oh, we're not too far away from game number 2. I'll tell you something else that I was very disappointed in. Kind of mentioned it during the play-by-play broadcast on Saturday night, but didn't get too much into it. as you're more focused on the game at the time. The Braves fans have got to get into this damn game and into these games. And they were showing, and this is the typical junk that we get from the Braves media, because all they do is walk in lockstep and bootlick their way through an entire season where there were plenty of questions to be asked going into. You look into today's game, and you look at a lot of things that Atlanta, and they say, well, we tried to make this move, we tried to make that move. It doesn't matter. You didn't make any moves. You go into today's game, the reason why this game, more than anything else, other than the fact you don't want to fall down 0-2, I get that. But game 3 almost feels like you're going to need the offense to absolutely carry you because you don't have a starter you can rely on. And they did nothing. They did nothing at the trading deadline. And they're going to tell you the same old thing. We didn't foresee Charlie Morton getting hurt. How did you know Kyle Wright? Kyle Wright, who's, by the way, he's done for next year as well with his shoulder surgery. Kyle Wright hadn't done anything all year long, even when he was healthy at the beginning of the year, healthy-ish. His ERA was north of 5. So the idea that you were going to be able to rely on him was really hopes and dreams. And now you're going into a game 2. You better get that win, because game 3, the last thing you're going to want to do is go into game 3 with Bryce Elder on the mound in Philadelphia. And like I said, and what makes me a little nervous going into this game is how tight is the team going to play. This team's the best talent, is the most talented team in baseball. But did they play tight? Can you put that on Snicker? But the Braves fans, you see it with the other teams. You're going to see it in Philadelphia, where the fans are rallying their flags and they're raising Cain the entire game. You just see that. I went back and watched it to make sure I wasn't imagining it. You would just see the fans get up if there were like 2 strikes on a batter at the end of an inning. That's not a rabid fan base. Maybe we're a little spoiled. I don't know. They will show the chop going when they're making a pitching change, and that's cool, and that's great. The fans are going to have to get into it and get the chop going, even if they don't want to lead you because the powers that be don't want to push the chop in the middle of the game. Whatever. That doesn't stop you as fans from raising Cain. And maybe that's one of the problems with the chop. Maybe everyone just kind of waits for the chop to get going, so everyone just kind of sits on their hands until they hear it. But all in all, when you watch the Braves' home crowd advantage, there was very little home crowd advantage because most of the game, it was a very, very dull roar. Yeah, if there's a pitching change, everybody saw the videos. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. But then it goes away the minute the inning starts. If the Braves fans want to sit there and point fingers at the front office for not doing their job, if they want to point fingers at the team not responding in game 1, then you need to look at yourself as well, because if you're at that game, if you are lucky enough to be at that stadium tonight, you better not be sitting on your damn hands. You better be standing up and raising Cain. All right. Had to get that off my chest. We'll move on, but back to some football. You look at what's going on here in week number 5. We're just kind of going to go through the league real quick. And all in all, week 5 to me felt like the actual beginning of the season, because you're starting to see the rubber meet the road. You got teams that were on life support that they got a stay of execution. Cincinnati Bengals bounce back in a big way. I know it was against Arizona. Arizona's not a very good football team, but Arizona has played well at home. Any way you look at it, Cincinnati got a comfortable win on the road. The teams that are still on life support, one got the win, one did not. Titans and Colts. Colts looked a little better. Titans looked like an average, below average team on the road. Colts look like an average, below average team at home. And that's the difference. I believe that game's played in Nashville. Titans win, and it's probably pretty damn close to the same score. Other teams on life support that you can say, they're not dead yet. What about them Steelers getting that big win against the Ravens? That was huge. I still like what the Rams are doing. I just think that was a bad matchup yesterday. And they're not one of the elite teams in the NFL. But the Rams are sitting there at 2-3. They're going to be okay. They got Cooper Kupp back. I believe right now, if you get a ticket that you like, that you can play the Rams to get to the playoffs, I like the Rams to get the playoffs. I think the Rams are one of the you make the argument the Rams are the best 2-3 team in football. Maybe Bengals, but it's right there. The Jets. Now that's a team everybody was about ready to pull the plug on. We're going to keep them on life support for a little longer. The Jets got a big win on the road, and it was a great revenge spot, and that's why it was my lock the other day. Great revenge spot for the Jets, who you can tell really like Daniel Hackett. They really like everything about Hackett, and he's Aaron Rodgers' guy. And you know Rodgers probably had some things to say to his teammates prior to that game. And they went out there. It wasn't pretty, but they went out there and basically out-physicaled Denver. And Zach Wilson didn't look terrible. 19 of 26, 199 yards. He did have the interception. He's got to clean that up. Breece Hall, by the way, what a game he had. Remember, that's the game that he tore his ACL on. That's the game. And so Breece Hall goes out there, 177 yards, 22 carries in that long touchdown run. But Zach Wilson got it done on the ground as well. 3 carries for 26 yards. The kid is athletic. There's no argument about it. Everything's always been in between his ears. He made some bad decisions. He held on to the ball a little too long, but it's getting better. You're starting to see it get better. Starting to see him turn a page. He hasn't quite turned that corner yet, but he's coming up to that corner. Whereas week 2, week 3, it looked like that corner was far, far away. It wasn't a dynamic game, but it was a solid game, and it was a game that they desperately needed. You didn't want to go to 1-4, not with Zach Wilson as your quarterback, because you know you're going to have some inconsistencies. And that is the last thing that you would need, especially considering the fact this Sunday, 4:25, they get the Eagles at home. That's going to be rough. Then they hit the bye week. They're going to come out of that bye week against the Giants. That's very winnable. They're going to be at home against the Chargers. Chargers are another team that's meh. That's very winnable. They're at Vegas. That's very winnable. If you get good quarterback play, solid. He doesn't have to be great, just solid. That defense is good enough to keep you in games. They're going to have a rough stretch where they got to play Buffalo and Miami back-to-back, but then they're at home against Atlanta, at home against Houston. They got a home date coming up at the end of the season. Listen to the last 3 games that they have. They're at home against Washington, at Cleveland, and at New England. And though Cleveland is tough, they're very New York Jet-like in the fact that their offense is not going to put up a lot of points to run you out of the building. There's a possibility that the Jets, if you look at the way their schedule's laid up, they could possibly win 4 or 5 of their last 6. The game I give them no chance of winning is at Miami on December 17th. They're going to get blown out of the water. But that's okay. At New England is your final game. New England will have packed it in by then. Jets are a sneaky pick to still get in that playoff picture. And once you get in the playoffs with that defense, you never know what could happen. I still don't think they're a team with Zach Wilson at the helm. They don't have a real shot of making a deep run in the playoffs unless he really steps up his game. But as of right now, that's not what's going on. But that was an impressive win. On the road, it's a get-right game. You can start pulling the plug on a few teams in the NFL. And I jotted them down. I like what Arizona's doing all in all, but their playoff hopes are in the tank now. They really needed that win. They're sitting at 1-4 now. It's going to be a long season. And there's a chance that they get Kyle Murray back in a few weeks. That's not necessarily going to make them any better. Last time we saw Kyle Murray, he wasn't very good. He wasn't a very good quarterback. He got hurt. And just because he's got a big contract, you think to yourself, hey, if they can hang around, da-da-da-da. Kyle Murray never deserved the contract that he got. And you can make the argument that may have been one of the worst contracts in NFL history, because what they end up getting out of Kyle Murray in the end is not going to be anywhere near the money that they put into it. Another team you can pull the plug on, Minnesota Vikings. That was it. They had one last chance. They're going to beat some teams they shouldn't beat. They're going to keep it interesting, keep it close. Remember the beginning of the season? Doing all the preseason predictions, and one of my predictions was that Minnesota was going to be a bad football team because they were 11-1 in one-score games last year, and that was going to turn. You very rarely win one-score football games at that rate, at that clip. And now the tables have turned. This year, they are now, with that loss yesterday, 0-4 in one-score games. That's assuming that you don't count an 8-point victory at Carolina one-score game, because it really isn't. You need the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. They're 0-4. They lost by a touchdown yesterday to Kansas City. Yeah, that's a moral victory, but what does that get you in the NFL? They lost by 4 at home against the Chargers. We all know how that game played out. They still got the loss. They were competitive late against Philadelphia, still got the loss. First game of the season, laid an egg at home against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is not as awful as everyone thought they were going to be. They're still not as good as a 3-1 record. The point is, Minnesota's season got off to a bad start, losing a game at home against Tampa Bay that you have to win. And that, to me, that was the beginning of the end for the Minnesota Vikings. You can pull the plug on there. Pull the plug on Denver. Denver's done. Denver is done. And they've already started making trades. Sean Payton's going to point to the future. He's not going to worry about year one because he knows as much money as they gave him, his job is safe for at least 2 to 3 years. Denver's done. They're 1-4. There's no shot in hell of them catching the division, with the Chiefs being top of the division. And they're not getting an AFC wild card. There's no way. New England, done. New England, my God. What an absolutely awful performance. And, usually there's a correction. And that's why the line was so low. Usually there's a correction. When a team loses 38-3 at Dallas, you're like, all right, that's okay. We're still going to bounce back. We're at home against the Saints. Saints haven't been that 34-0. So they have lost the last 2 weeks. They have lost 72-3. In the NFL, that's unacceptable. Any other coach in the National Football League, his seat would be scorching hot, but because it's Bill Belichick and all the stuff that he's done in the past, no one's even talking about it. But if you're a Patriots fan, and I'm sure there's a lot of Patriots fans that are going to say he earned the right to stink this late in his career because he was so great. I get that. I can't even argue against that. But you just better buckle up because it's going to be a bumpy ride. And the Giants, they're done. Giants show absolutely no life. The Giants are 1-4. They're not catching Philadelphia for the division, that's for sure. And you can put any thoughts that they had of possibly getting hot and making a run at the wild card, it's over. That offense looked terrible yesterday. If it wasn't for that pick six, that game would have been an absolute blowout. Didn't shock anybody. Miami looks really good, but it would have been a blowout. So there you have the NFL. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, college football, armchair top 10. Let's get it. And the Braves, Phillies, tonight. Monday night edition of MLB postseason. And thank God, because that Monday night football game's a stinker. Raiders, Packers. I was going to go over it, but honestly, I think it's such a dud of a game. I'll put it this way. I think Green Bay is probably going to squeak out a win because the Raiders no longer have a home field advantage. Them playing in Las Vegas might have been good for everybody's pocketbook, but it's terrible if you actually play for the team or pull for the team. Because everybody, and Packer fans travel. Everybody looks at it as a great opportunity to go see their team in Las Vegas. College football next. We'll be back in a flash here on Armchair Quarterback Mondays, Braves Country Radio.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Are you looking for...
Hey, Braves fans. Mac McGee here with Braves Country Radio. You can find us on youtube.com/@Braves Country. We're bringing you pitch by pitch, play by play of your Atlanta Braves all postseason long. Hear us right here on the radio or find us on YouTube today. You can jump in the chat with all the Braves fans during the game and listen along as the Braves march through Choptober. That's Braves Country Radio, youtube.com/@Braves Country.
Well, the season's finally here.
The Armchair Quarterbacks are back. Saturdays, 10 a.m., you'll be tailgating with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Mac McGee, Joey and Tones, and the rest of the Armchair Quarterbacks live, 10 a.m., Saturdays this fall. Talking college football, SEC, ACC, Big Ten, the NFL, fantasy football advice, and our picks against the spread. Right here on Braves Country HD, 99.1 FM, WQEE.
Yeah, the Armchair Quarterback.
Hey, does any of y'all know when the employee Christmas party is for the self-checkout at Walmart?
You saying you want a piece of me?
I can drop you like a bag of dirt.
You want a piece of me? You got it!
Ryan Sandberg stepping in to lead it off against Danny Cox. Sandberg walked his first time. Last time up, he grounded out third to first. 1 ball and 1 strike. Swung on, fly ball, left center field. That sends Coleman back, and that ball is gone. Home run for Ryne Sandberg. He hit it into the basket, and that gets the Cubs on the scoreboard with their first hit of the afternoon. Ryne Sandberg's first home run of the year.
Hey, Braves Country. Braves Country HD is bringing you Braves Country Baseball. Braves Country comes to you every Tuesday night and Friday night and 2 bonus games every week. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we'll be bringing you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves. It's free to listen. Please like and subscribe. YouTube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country Baseball for the fans, by the fans.
Denton True Young was an ungainly, out-of-place farm boy when he came to the Cleveland Spiders in 1890. Even his teammates took to calling him Cy, short for Cyrus, because he seemed so countrified. But Cy Young held the Chicago White Stockings to just 3 hits to win his first game, and then went on to win 510 more before he was through, a record never even approached by any other pitcher.
You're listening to Braves Country Baseball on Braves Country HD. Well, armchair top 10. So let's go ahead and get into it. College football, pretty good slate this past Saturday. It wasn't a great slate, but it wasn't one that I'll sit here and say that I was terribly disappointed in. All in all, and we'll explain more as we get through this top 10, but all in all, there wasn't a lot of games that jumped off the board at you. This week, it's a little juicier, a little more meat on the bone. There's not a lot of great games, but there's some pretty solid ones. Now, you have to be more of a national football fan, a national college football fan to appreciate them. But Oregon, Washington, my only question with Oregon, Washington is, why is it the 3:30 game on ABC? The 3:30 game, really? I'm guessing it's because, well, no, because NBC's carrying the Notre Dame USC game. They went with Miami, North Carolina at 7:30. I think they got that backwards. I really do. Miami, North Carolina should be the appetizer going into Oregon, Washington. It's a bad job by ABC, by college football, for choosing that. I guess they're going with the idea that they're going to get more eyeballs because it's 2 East Coast teams. I don't think that's right. I think the nation would have rather have seen 2 top 10 teams undefeated, see what they got. College football fans are like, I haven't seen these teams. I'm sure a lot of teams east of the Mississippi, or a lot of fans east of the Mississippi, have not watched a lot of Oregon and Washington football. It'd be an opportunity to really dig your teeth into it. It's really dumbfounding that that's what and you're going to be going up against USC Notre Dame, which is going to get much bigger eyeballs because USC and Notre Dame have their fan bases. Anyways, especially after that Miami loss. First of all, what is Miami still doing in the top 25? They are an absolute fraud. An absolute fraud. And I'm not even going to talk about what everybody is harping on with the bad decision-making by Mario Cristobal. By the way, this isn't the first time he's done that. I saw a video the very next morning, someone pointing out he basically did the same exact thing when he was at Oregon that cost Oregon a win. He didn't run the clock out. There was a turnover late in the game. Stanford ended up tying the game, and then Stanford won it in overtime. Just nobody paid attention to it because it's Pac-12 football, and Oregon was not undefeated at the time, chasing down a possible playoff berth. But I've talked about this before, and I'm going to say it again. Miami is a fraud. If you think that the Miami Hurricanes just got a bad break because the coach did an incredibly stupid thing, for folks who may have missed it, I doubt you have because you have to be on a rock at this point, but he tried to run the clock out up the middle as opposed to taking a knee. He takes a knee, the game's over. That's the short of it. Instead, there's a fumble. Georgia Tech goes the entire length of the field in like 26 seconds. It was a great win for Georgia Tech. It was an exciting win for Georgia Tech, not taking anything away from Georgia Tech. But Miami's a fraud. Georgia Tech is in a complete rebuild. This is not a Georgia Tech team that you're like, well, you know, I told you had to watch it. No, this is a complete rebuild. They're doing a great job at Georgia Tech, by the way. This is a complete rebuild. When the Miami Hurricanes, you look at what they did against a Georgia Tech team whose defense is on their best days average. Tyler Van Dyke had 3 interceptions. Everyone wanted to pat TVD on the back because they beat Texas A&M at home early in the season. Texas A&M is a touch overrated. Just because Texas A&M kept it close with Alabama, these aren't one of the great Alabama teams. But you just look at, if you just pulled up the box score on the Miami game, you would not look at that and say, well, this is a top 25 team. The one win against A&M, they are living off of that one. Absolutely living off of that one. Miami of Ohio, Bethune-Cookman, Temple. Those are your wins outside a home game against A&M. And yeah, they're impressive blowout wins. Mark my words, this Saturday, North Carolina is going to boat race them. And ABC deserves every damn bit of what terrible viewership they're going to get, because it's going to be like halftime and everyone's going to say, well, the heck with this. And they're going to be locked into the Notre Dame Southern Cal game. Which, by the way, I know Notre Dame lost another game. Louisville's a good team. And they were on the road. I talked about it. That was my one big thing, walk off on Saturday. I hit the nail on the head with that. It was a looky-loo game. Notre Dame was coming off of a tough game at Duke, a physical game. They're going to be on the road again with a looky-loo ahead to the big game against USC. And once again, these are 20, 21-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids. And to keep kids motivated and focused week after week after week is a very tough thing to do. Notre Dame's had a tough schedule. I'll call it now, they are going to take down Southern Cal. Southern Cal's defense is awful. All right, armchair top 10. Let's get into it. Number 10 in the land. I'm going to put Louisville up there. How do you not put Louisville up there? Louisville, look, if they're not as good as we are seeing right now, it'll all get worked out in the wash. Louisville has a favorable schedule after that Notre Dame game, but they'll still have to play in the ACC championship. Give me Louisville. They're at Pittsburgh next. They should win that game. Once again, Louisville's going to have to be careful. This is uncharted territory for the Louisville Cardinals. Cardinal is at Stanford. The Cardinals are undefeated, and they're in my top 10. I know a lot of folks are probably like, they're number 14 on the ESPN poll. I'll pull up the AP poll too, as always do, to compare the two. But the Louisville, where are they at on the? I think they're right. They're 14th as well in the AP poll. Louisville is a solid football team. They may not be able to run the table to get to the ACC title game, but what kind of juice would that have if you had an undefeated Florida State versus an undefeated Louisville team going into the ACC championship game? How fun would that be? Jeff Braun's doing some good things there. The number 9 team in the land. Give me the North Carolina Tar Heels. They're impressive. Every game they get just a little better. They are impressive. And we'll be able to see what they can make happen here this Saturday. They should blow Miami out. Miami is not a very good team. By the way, AP poll, North Carolina, number 12. I think that's a touch. They should not be below Alabama. They should not be below Southern Cal. Spoiler alert, Southern Cal did not make my top 10. I get it. They're undefeated. I get it. They got to win. They won ugly. This is week after week after week that we see Southern Cal barely get through these games. Against bad Arizona's not a good football team, y'all. And they put over 40 on Southern Cal. And if you watch that game and you took the records away, you would have thought these were two very evenly matched teams. Number 8 team in the land. Give me the Oklahoma Sooners. Very impressive win. Texas falls out of my top 10. They won't be out long. Teams will lose in front. They'll jump back in. But give me the Oklahoma Sooners. They're number 9 in the AP poll. I don't think it's fair to have teams like North Carolina and Louisville who have had solid wins and are undefeated to be below these guys. But that's a brand issue is all that is. Number 7, give me the Penn State Nittany Lions. They've played cupcakes, but they've been impressive. They had the big win over Iowa. Iowa turned out to be not a very good team, but still it was a dominant performance. All in all, Penn State has not been tested, but Penn State has an opportunity a week from Saturday against Ohio State. This week it's another cupcake city. It's UMass. The problem with Penn State is this, and I have been impressed by them. They lose a game, it's going to be much more difficult for them to right the ship and get back in the playoff picture, because when you have played, here's who they've played so far: Northwestern, Iowa, Illinois, who's terrible, Delaware. The West Virginia game actually looks a lot better than it did. But once again, that was week 1. It's hard to really gauge off of week 1s. But here's the rest of their schedule. They've got at Ohio State October 21st. That's it. Until November 11th, they play Michigan. Yeah, they go to Maryland, but Maryland's not that good of a team. We saw that. Maryland was an undefeated team that hadn't played anybody. Very, very Big Ten-like. I mean, Big Ten, they're going to have to adjust because with the other teams coming in and the expanded playoffs, you're going to have to start putting bigger boys on your schedule, teams like Penn State, teams like Michigan, because you want the opportunity to set yourself apart. Let's say this is next year. Let's say Penn State loses 2 games. And they're clamoring we should be one of the top 12 teams in the country. Should you? Let's say the 2 games they lose are Ohio State and Michigan. Then what is your bell cow win? You don't have a bell cow win. So it's going to be a very big game for Penn State at Ohio State. Looking forward to that a week from Saturday. But at the same token, they lose that game, they probably can get back in it with the Michigan victory over Michigan, but they have to hope Michigan runs the table, because if Michigan starts getting into Michigan's played nobody. If Michigan gets into the teeth of their schedule and they drop an important game here or there, then a win over Michigan doesn't do you as much good. Number 6 on the Armchair Top 10 this week. Give me the Ohio State Buckeyes. Buckeyes methodically beat down, and I know it's not a game that everybody's going to jump up and down about, but I thought Ohio State looked pretty solid. Their offense isn't as explosive as it has been, but it's still a good offense. This week they're at Purdue. Could be a looky-loo game, at a road game, an early kickoff. But Ohio State gets number 6. I know they're number 3 in the ESPN poll and the AP poll. They are number 3 as well. I mean, all I can say is how. They've got the one victory. It was an ugly win over Notre Dame. That's it. They haven't played anybody else. Number 5. And I don't mind putting them up this high because they're going to face my number 4. Number 5 is Washington. Number 4 is Oregon. They're going to face off this weekend. Someone's knocking someone off the list. And unless it's like a very tight win, a 1-point win, kind of something like that, the loser's probably falling out of my top 10. Probably not staying out of my top 10, but probably falling out of my top 10. So right now I've got Oregon 4, Washington 5. I'm just been a little more impressed with Oregon. Washington is the home team this week, so keep an eye on that. Number 3 in the country, Florida State. Thoroughly dominated Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's not a great team. Florida State's got 2 bell cow wins already. And you can't take that away. They dominated LSU team who just went into Missouri. And look, more and more I'm impressed with that Florida State defense than anything else. When I see what LSU is doing to Southeastern Conference defenses and shredding them, that Florida State defense, they shut down Clemson. That didn't jump out at me as much because Clemson had the terrible turnover game against Duke, so you didn't know what to make of it. Clemson's offense is pretty darn good. That Florida State defense earns in the number 3 spot. Can't put them above Michigan at number 2. You just can't do it. Michigan has thoroughly dominated and impressed week after week after week. I know it's been Cupcake City, and I get that part of it, but they have dominated. They're going to get another cupcake this week. Michigan's at home against Indiana, who is terrible this year. But even with that being said, they are blowing teams out of the water. You put the East Carolina and UNLV and Bowling Green game aside because who the hell are they? Which they blew them out. They beat Rutgers at home 31-7, very methodical win. They tore up the floor with Nebraska 45-7 on the road, and then Saturday night in Minnesota, a game that you could see Michigan possibly just kind of stumbling through. Never thought they would ever, at any rate, before that game, think that they could lose the game. But you didn't if they were going to cover the spread. I kind of stayed away from it. 52-10. They've got 3 more cupcakes. They are Cupcake City. They're just like Penn State. Iowa, Michigan State, and Purdue are the next 3 games. And then they get the showdown in Happy Valley. Once again, so dumb that Fox is making these their day games. Really missing an opportunity. But anyways, they're going to play at Penn State, noon kickoff, November 11th. That's when the Michigan season starts. And then they will have a game at Maryland, and then they will have a game at home against Ohio State. Maryland is not that great of a team, but I will tell you this, that could be a looky-loo game because you get Maryland sandwiched in between, and it's a road game. You get them sandwiched in between Penn State and Ohio State. It's just going to be natural, and there's no days off, no bye weeks. It's just going to be natural to want to put not necessarily your worst foot forward, but you're going to probably go out there 80% focus, and that can get you beat. But Michigan's my number 2 team, and then Georgia. Try to tell everyone on Saturday. They all scoffed. They all laughed. Georgia blew them out the door. Georgia gets Vanderbilt this week. They're not going to get tested this week. Georgia's next big test is, or I don't know if I'll call it a big test, but it's a test. It's a rivalry game. October 28th against Florida. Whatever that line is, take Florida. Because Florida has not been that impressive. That line is going to be skewed in the direction of Georgia. And I'm never one to tell you to take an early bet, mainly because I don't like them because you can't predict injuries. But I think Florida is going to be a 17 to 20 point underdog in that game. And I do think they'll cover the spread. I don't think they have a chance of beating Georgia, but I do think they're going to cover the spread. Florida is playing at South Carolina this weekend. Then they have a week off to prepare for Georgia. If Florida loses that game at South Carolina, that Georgia-Florida line is going to be huge. It's going to be in the 20s. And remember, once again, that is you can have the Red River rivalry. That is the best college football atmosphere as far as neutral site college football game. That's it. It's the Florida-Georgia game. And I know there's been talk about getting rid of it in Jacksonville and playing home and home. I'm telling you, Florida fans, I'm telling you, Georgia fans, you don't want to do that. Because you do that, someone else is going to come in and take the seat at the table. Because Jacksonville will definitely go out and find someone to replace you. And it'll be a big look. I could see them doing like Florida State, Miami every year in Jacksonville, right? You don't want it. You want to keep that as your baby. It's very, very impressive. It's an impressive atmosphere. Georgia's going to win that game. Don't get me wrong. But at the same token, I don't believe you're going to see Georgia beat Florida by like 5-6 touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. But Georgia was very impressive. Once again, they beat the brakes off of Kentucky. We talked about this on Saturday, and I got scoffed at. Everyone just believing that Kentucky, because this is what happens with fans. They believe everything they see, and you can't do that because it's matchups. And the number one matchup that I did not like about the Georgia-Kentucky game was Kentucky was not going to be able to pass the ball. They don't have much of a passing game. They manhandled Florida. They were not going to be able to do that against Georgia. They got absolutely dominated in the trenches, and the game was over before it began. And that was an impressive win by Georgia. I get it. Kentucky loses that, and people go scoff and say, oh, Kentucky. But Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, everybody say, watch out for Kentucky. They really beat down a very good Florida team. No, they didn't. Florida's not a very good football team. Florida's very one-dimensional. Kentucky did a great job of shutting down that one dimension, and that's what Georgia did to Kentucky. So Georgia's the number one team in the land. You can hate on it all you want. I can just tell you this. Georgia, though they haven't played the greatest slate yet, it's starting to heat up a tick. They're a team that, as the season wears on, just like Michigan. You're going to see them get tested a little, and then we'll really see what they have. But you look at the rest of the Georgia schedule, even if they don't run the table, they're going to the playoffs. I don't know if they can absorb 2 losses, because if you continue to have a lot of undefeated teams out there, that would be tough. But even a 1 loss, the only games that they have to really be concerned with is the neutral site Florida game. And at one point I would have thought Tennessee, because it's in Knoxville and the fan bases don't like each other. It's going to be a very raucous atmosphere. I just don't think Tennessee's got what it takes to pull off the upset this year. So it means that Georgia would have to get upset at home by either Missouri or Ole Miss. I don't realistically see that happening. Honestly, I think the most daunting game on their, not counting the SEC championship game, the most daunting game on their schedule, it might be the Florida game, because it's at a neutral site on a team that could beat them. Tennessee would have to have a huge turnover margin to pull that off. So there you have that. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to put a wrap on this puppy and talk about the Major League Baseball playoffs, which are rolling along. Braves, Phillies tonight, 6:07 first pitch.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes 1 free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Hey, Braves fans, Mac McGee here with Braves Country Radio. You can find us on youtube.com/@Braves Country. We're bringing you pitch by pitch, play by play of your Atlanta Braves all postseason long. Hear us right here on the radio or find us on YouTube today. You can jump in the chat with all the Braves fans during the game and listen along as the Braves march through Choptober. That's Braves Country Radio, youtube.com/@Braves Country.
Well, the season's finally here.
The Armchair Quarterbacks are back. Saturdays, 10 a.m., you'll be tailgating with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Mac McGee, Joey and Tones, and the rest of the Armchair Quarterbacks live, 10 a.m. Saturdays this fall. Talking college football, SEC, ACC, Big Ten, the NFL, fantasy football advice, and our picks against the spread. Right here on Braves Country HD, 99.1 FM, WQEE.
Yeah, the Armchair.
Shula soon changed sunbathers into flag wavers as Miami earned instant success under his command. In 1970, Shula's first season as coach, a team that had won only 3 games the year before, won 10 and made the playoffs. In his second season, Miami won 12 and reached the Super Bowl. In 1972, Shula's third year, the Dolphins were literally unstopped, winning 17 straight, including Super Bowl 7.
Armchair.
Welcome back. Time to talk a little lines real quick. Braves are minus 162 today at home against the Phillies. We know we don't make those calls as our locks unless it's minus 150 or lower. Dodgers are minus 168 if you parlay them. It's a plus 158. I really like that today. I don't think the Braves and Dodgers are going to just not show up. I believe there's a lot of fight in both teams. So I really like Braves, Dodgers tonight. Take them on the money line to win. Get both games. Bobby Miller's got phenomenal stuff. Dodgers will bounce back. They were humiliated in game one. They'll bounce back. They'll get the W. Braves will get the win. And my biggest concern with the Braves tonight, more than anything else, would be the fact that we are facing Zach Wheeler, who we have had just a terrible go with. But I believe in this Braves offense, and I believe if the Braves see a pitcher enough times, they're going to make the right adjustments. You're also just assuming Wheeler's going to go out there and have his good stuff. But what the Braves are going to have to do, and we'll get more into this in the pregame show, what the Braves are going to have to do is they're going to have to work the count with Wheeler. Because you've got to get him out of the damn game by the sixth inning. So if you let the game be scoreless, down by one, tied, what have you, and you get in the very back of that Philly bullpen, they've got a pretty darn good bullpen. But it's that middle part of the Philly bullpen where the Braves have the advantage. They've got to knock Wheeler out. Got to. What's going to be a daunting task in this series more than anything else is unless the Braves rattle off 3 games in a row, they're going to have to beat Zach Wheeler in all likelihood twice to win this series, and that is going to be tough. That's why game 1 was so important. Strider pitched a good game. Anyone on Strider is an idiot. Strider pitched a good game. To keep that Philly offense where he kept them was monumental. Braves offense just didn't show up. I don't believe the Braves offense is going to get shut down 2 games in a row. Give me the Braves. And once again, the Dodgers, I know Zach Gallen is on the mound for Arizona, and he's a good pitcher. The Dodgers will score some runs tonight. All right, real quick at the other lines. Remember the pregame show, if you want to listen to or watch over on Braves Country Radio, pregame show, Braves Country Radio today. We're going to come on the air at 5 p.m. for the pregame show and probably get it rolling about 5:07 with the 6:07 first pitch. So we're going to go over the entire game, the whole 9 yards, and talk much more baseball. We do some football talk here in the early going because there's no way that you could squeeze everything in with all what's going on in the world of sports. But we're going to get into all the baseball talk, the pregame show, 5 o'clock hour. And if your radio affiliate's not picking it up, go to YouTube. Simple. It's free. Just go over youtube.com/@BravesCountry, or you can just search Braves Country Radio will pop up. And then we will have pitch by pitch, play by play of your Atlanta Braves tonight, 6:07. And remember something too. The game being on our channel, you have an opportunity to watch the game with other fans. So it's a lot of fun. Folks like Shooting the Bull. I do the play-by-play to just kind of keep it. I can't sit back and do the cheerleading channels. I can't do it where they just sit there and watch the game with you and they'll kind of talk every once in a while and they're just it's Dullsville. We bring you the pitch-by-pitch, play-by-play, and hopefully you'll enjoy it tonight. Game 2, we're going to get it. All right, real quick look at the early lines we're going to start with college football. We'll take a look at the NFL later this week. It's really hard to get into the NFL because until the weekends, which tonight, Raiders, Packers, I know those are two franchises that have big fan bases. Yeah, that game is that game is a whole lot of dud to me. I'm much more interested, not just in the Braves game, but in Dodgers Diamondbacks tonight. College football week. This will be week 7. It's hard to believe that we're already there in college football. But first of all, you've got a couple of games this week. The early lower level, we used to always call them action, but it's not all MAC games nowadays. But you actually have a Tuesday game, Liberty and Jacksonville State. You've got a Wednesday, couple of Wednesday games. UTEP is on the board versus FIU, Sam Houston State versus New Mexico State. Honestly, like, you are really scrounging for college football if you're watching that. West Virginia, Houston, Thursday night could be fun. That line right now is -2.5. I would tend to think more than anything that I like in this game is the under at 52.5. West Virginia, you have not watched them play. They play physical defense and they slow the ball down. They don't throw the ball a whole hell of a lot. So the clock tends to wind down quickly in West Virginia games. You got another game on Thursday night, SMU ECU, East Carolina. They're getting 11 at home. I'm more apt to take the over in that one if I'm going to take it, 50.5. And then on Friday night, this will be another one of these games where everyone's going to talk about how great of a team Dion has. Colorado's at home against Stanford. Stanford's awful. It's a 12-point line. Colorado, I think, will probably blow them out of the water because Colorado's going to try to put as many points on the board, style points. So if you're up late on Friday night, have at it. I cannot convince myself to watch that game. It is going to be snore city for me. Saturday, you got some interesting games. We're just going to hit a few before we have to jam. The Georgia's given up 31.5 to Vanderbilt. I don't know if that line's big enough. How is Vanderbilt going to move the ball on Georgia? And Georgia will just methodically win that game like 38-0. They don't even have to do a whole lot. They just have to not fumble the ball, and they're going to cover that spread. Same thing with Indiana, Michigan. Michigan's giving up 34 points at home. How is Indiana going to stay close? Georgia and Michigan just basically tune-up games early on. Later in the day, talked about this earlier, the looky-loo. Does Ohio State cover the 20 points? On paper, they should. On paper, Ohio State's been pretty dominant. But Purdue has played some tough games. My thing with this is I'm going to let it ride for a while. If he gets up above that 21 and a half, 22 points, I'm probably more likely to grab it. If you really want to jump on it, jump on this game early in the week, and you don't believe that Ohio State is going to look ahead, then I would grab it now at 20. I don't think it's going to get any lower than that. Syracuse is at Florida State. Florida State's giving up 17.5 points. Syracuse is a solid football team. I don't think they're going to play well on the road. I'm probably steering clear of this game. I might be looking at some props later on in the week to see what the actual player props are. But all in all, Florida State should win this game going away. I would think that they could and will cover the 17.5 points, but it's not a given because Syracuse plays a very slow it down game. So a 17-point win by Florida State will still look impressive, but you won't cover the spread. Same thing with Alabama, Arkansas, 19.5 points. Alabama has been too topsy-turvy for me to give up that many points. Here's the interesting one. Tennessee, Texas A&M. Tennessee is a 3-point favorite at home. A&M's coming off a physical game against Alabama. A&M is on the road. Tennessee has been off. I like Tennessee to get them. 3 points. I'd probably give up the 3. If not, the money line's only at 160 right now. It's only going to go up. Notre Dame is a favorite at home against Southern Cal. 2 points, but 125 on the money line is where I would go. A lot of folks are going to say, well, that's just Notre Dame getting the benefit of the doubt, and people are underestimating Southern Cal, and a lot of money is going to come in on Southern Cal. They play in Los Angeles, a lot of fans. Notre Dame is going to win that game. Notre Dame is going to win that game. I don't see how Southern Cal is going to move the ball. What I saw from the offensive line play of Southern Cal getting dominated in pockets of that game against Arizona, Notre Dame is just going to punch him in the mouth and keep going. And it's going to be, everyone's down on Sam Hartman right now. I think a lot of Notre Dame fans don't realize what they were watching the other night. They're looking at, this is Louisville. We should beat Louisville. Things aren't the same anymore. You can't look at the brand of the helmet anymore because of the NIL. Teams improve quickly. Louisville is a good football team. And they had a great game plan as well, but they're a good football team. Notre Dame is going to get back right in front of the home fans. Won't be easy, but I like Notre Dame to win that game. Over under, by the way, 62.5. That seems high because Notre Dame's playing these low scoring games. Southern Cal's defense is atrocious. So maybe an opportunity there to tease that game. You get Notre Dame on, if you tease them on the 4, I would probably do a 7-point teaser just to get the number right. Because then you get the over at 55.5, which is very gettable, and Notre Dame would be getting 5. Other games on the docket before we have to jam out of here. Lines that are interesting. Very interesting. First of all, Penn State 43-point favorites at home against UMass. I know there's a look-ahead spot. UMass might be the worst football program in America. They're terrible. Penn State has been running the score up. They've been going after style points. James Franklin is very aware of the point spread. I'd be all over giving Penn State's 43 up. I think they're going to blow them out. The idea that Massachusetts, by the way, right now, the way it plays out, they're over under. They're probably going to knock it down a half point to 13.5, but their over under team total is about 14 because the over under is 57. Penn State's 43-point favorite. You do the math. 14 points is what they're expecting from UMass. UMass isn't scoring 14 points. UMass won't get past midfield. So I really like that number. Oregon, Washington, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Oregon's getting 3 points. It's going to be a nip and tuck game. Washington's got the big advantage being at home, but it's an early kickoff, so it's not as good of an advantage. We're seeing it as 3:30. It's going to be 12:30 Pacific time. That's not an advantage. Something, if I'm a Washington fan, I'd be ticked off about. So Oregon and the points is the play for me on that one. Auburn is getting 11 at LSU. A lot of folks are going to be very tempted to grab Auburn. They play much better at home. I don't know if they can hang with that. LSU's offense is a well-oiled machine. I would steer clear of that game. Missouri at Kentucky, that's a fun one. Everyone's going to be down on Kentucky this week. Kentucky will bounce back. They will beat Missouri. Missouri's defense is a sieve. Kentucky will be able to run on Missouri's defense. And Duke is sitting there minus 3.5 at home against NC State. Money line's minus 175. I like Duke. All right, that'll do it for us. 5 o'clock. pregame show. We'll probably come on right at 5:07, give you a full hour before kickoff, and we'll have pitch-by-pitch, play-by-play of your Atlanta Braves. Game 2, Braves Country Radio. Find us today, youtube.com/@BravesCountry. You're looking for Braves Country Radio on YouTube. Have a great one, y'all, and we'll see you mañana. And hopefully, we're sitting there with a tie series heading back to Philly. But we'll get into all that, and I'll give you my pick to click and everything on the pregame show. Goodbye.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country comes your way weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th. Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please. Can I get another cigarette, please?
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.